Jovi, Mrs. B to all of us. My name is Evan. I put this on with Michelle. We did this for Alec a couple of years ago, and it was fun. It was nice. It was nice. I think, and we're gonna keep letting people in. We're gonna let people in. Fans are here to, a lot of the people here I met because of Mrs. B. I think we all met each other because of Mrs. B. So, um, proudly she was on my mailing list, and I always loved hearing back from her. So I think we all have our stories. I'll even share a story later of how I got in trouble with Mrs. B. So we'll do that a little bit. Oh, she made a big. I was an idiot. I'll tell you about my idiocy later. But yeah, we're getting together. We're gonna have fun. And Michelle, you want to do the candle after the first song? And
Yeah, that's fine.
I
You can
get
go
it. I
to the
get
first one
this.
first.
Okay, we know why we're here. I know it's sad we lost Mrs. B, but at the same time, this feels like a more uplifting occasion. I feel like we have so much from her, and she put us all in touch with each other. She's a network. She networked us all together. So let's do some songs for her, and then if anyone wants to speak, we'll speak. So here we go. We were young, unafraid. We were finding our own way. There's no wind, there's no rain in the eye of a hurricane. Every time you climb that mountain, there's another one left to climb. Don't go looking for tomorrow, leaving yesterday behind. Writing every page together, those days were not to last forever. Diamond in the rough when we were burn the house and torch the skyline. There was more than fire in our eyes, love meant more than lust. When we were one, born and raised, more than blood runs through these veins. Cuts can heal, scars will fade. What we had will never change. Seasons pass and time will move on. You don't ever have to let it go. You can only go so far now till you find your way back home. Writing every page together. Those days were not to last forever. Diamonds in the rough. When we were us, burn the house and torch the skyline. There was more than fire in our eyes. Love meant more than lust. We were us. Memories are nothing more than ghosts that we let in. Don't be afraid of them. Do you remember when? Writing every page together. Those days when I took us forever. Diamonds in the rough.
It's the guy that posted it.
Burn the house
I
and
don't know
torch
what the
the
hell.
skyline.
Yo,
There was more than fire in our eyes. Love meant more than lust. When we were oh,
come on.
so welcome to the Mrs. B celebration of life. My name is Evan. I'm here with Michelle. Um, we're here to share. I want to hear your stories. I mean, I guess just as an opening, let's read the obit and let's just see the amazing things that she did for us. So Carol A. Bongiovi, entrepreneur, Playboy Bunny, and U.S. Marine, died on Tuesday, July 9th, 3 years short of her 84th birthday. An entrepreneur operating several businesses, founder of her son's band's fan club, born and raised in Erie, Pennsylvania, enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps in 1959. She served her country honorably, met her future husband, Jon Bon Jovi Sr. They moved to Sayreville, New Jersey, where she and her husband raised their family. Eventually, the family settled in Homedale, New Jersey, where she resided for the remainder of her life. Surviving her husband of 63 years, Jon Bon Jovi Sr., along with 3 sons and daughters, in-law, Dorothea and John, obviously Middletown, New Jersey, Anthony and Nina Bon Jovi in LA, Matt and Desiree in Homedale, as well as 8 loving grandkids. And also Michelle put on a fundraiser on Facebook. I think where are we at on that? We were going for like $2,000 now, and we're at up to
We
what?
are at, I'll give you exact total. As a matter of fact, hold on. I believe we're at
HomedaleFuneralHome to give
1,500.
your messages. And Facebook fundraiser was also St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, as well as as well as the Jon Bon Jovi Soul Foundation. So whatever you guys want to do, that's the way. And we have one, I think it's at least 1,800.
Okay.
We're at.
I haven't looked actually. Sorry, guys, I was away. We're at, I believe, 1592. Yeah,
Excellent.
1592. And I
Thank you. Very
actually
good.
started it at,
Making
I
it go up
started
to
it at
10. Very nice.
1,000 and I had to up
Okay.
it.
Now, Michelle, do you have any story yourself? Do you have a good Mrs. B memory?
I have a lot of Mrs. B memories, but I'll share a couple favorites.
Yeah, share me.
Mrs. B had sons. So every time, online, starting out in like as early as Red Bank shows, and I mean, I'm talking early years, like the first couple of shows, all of us waiting in the middle of the night on the streets of Red Bank in December, 1 o'clock in the morning. Here comes Mrs. B and Mr. B down the street with box of Joes and dozens of donuts for all of us, and hugging every single one of us, telling us thank you for being there. And that, of course, she ensured the best tickets in the house for us, as she always did. Um, Elements, I remember being on the line, her hugging everybody. Again, I always wanted daughters, and we were all very much ready to oblige and be the daughters. um, and also loved, and I'm sure all the other fan club members can elaborate, loved with her surprises every time we got there. If you girls behave and everybody behaves, I may have a surprise for you. And lo and behold, who walked the room? Jon. That's happened a lot. So she was very, very proud that she could always talk Jon into walking the room and giving the fan club members exactly what they wanted. So
Right. We loved the fan club trips had the auctions where they would sell. I'm like, doesn't he want any of this stuff? But
he
now
would
that Jon
sell
has
the
come out
pants
as
right off his
as
ass,
an
she would
extreme
tell us.
hoarder,
Yeah.
I could see why the mom would want to get rid of his extra stuff. Like you gotta just
Yep. Pants right off his ass. Like that, she would joke with us always.
Nice, nice. Do you want to light the candle now for Mrs. B?
Okay, if anybody has candles,
I don't have any
get
candles.
them out.
Yeah.
If not, I got one that's 24 hours for all of us. It will burn out in my house for all of us. I'm a big believer in lighting candles when somebody passes away, and
Yeah.
I like to light them on the 1 year also. So
Oh, I got it. Go. Let's add
it's a hard one, guys.
Stacy's got one. Let me add Stacy.
A lot of my life goes to this fan club.
Yeah.
How many people we've met all over the world for 40 years.
Mhm.
I've been in it since day one, since I'm young. Cerebral is down the street. We are forever indebted to this woman for everything she's done for us. All the friendships, all the memories, all the traveling. Hopefully we get more in the future. We love you, Mrs. B. Thank you for everything. Rest in peace.
All right. Thank you. Great job with the candles. All right. So let's see if we got anyone. Again, I'll leave it open to you guys. Give yourself minute, 90 seconds, whatever you want. I know the event said go till 9 p.m. Eastern. I can stay later if we have to stay later. It's okay. So does anyone want to share their Mrs. B memories? Anyone have a Mrs. B memory they want to mention? You can also like chat me and be like, I want to say something. And I'll note to not have to scroll.
Yeah, I'm watching the chat. Anybody?
I'll
Regina, come on,
I'll
you old
share.
school guys.
Who's that?
I'll share. It's me.
Oh, Afsha?
I don't think a lot of people know me. I'm sorry. I don't.
Afsha in Toronto, guys.
Just say your name first. Say your name, who you are, where you're
I'm
from.
Afsha from Toronto. It's kind of a weird story. I don't know. I don't have a lot of close Jovi stories, but I was 26 years old and I ran away from home. So that's the kind of house I lived in, very strict. Ran away to New Jersey to see Bon Jovi. And I met his parents in the audience at Giants, and I said, I ran away from home to see your son. She said, "Oh dear, I hope you have a home to go back to." So that was it. And my parents were mad at me for like 3 weeks because I was gone for 3 weeks. But I told them that story and they're like, "Yep, you do." So
It's funny.
that's my story. Thank you for
Oh,
listening.
thank you. Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you. We'll come back. Oh, that's it. I'm just doing the Zoom. It's been a while since I've done Zoom. But anyone else have any Mrs. B stories? Want to
I
time?
do, but I don't know how to do it.
I'll do it. What's your name?
Bonnie.
Bonnie, let me find you. I gotta scroll through you. Where's my
I might cry though, so
okay.
you might have to
It's
get with
I'm
it.
crying.
All emotions are
It's
welcome.
okay.
So let me place me with you. Hi, Bonnie, from where?
Hi. So my story starts a little bit out with John. It has to have to segue into it because so I lived 10 minutes south of Sayreville and I heard Bon Jovi on the radio. Do you want the whole story or just should I keep it short?
Whatever you want to do.
Oh, you're good. Go. Talk.
All right. So there, I had all the local papers there and like, so I would, obviously big into music and I saw a paper that said like, it's like November of 83. And I saw this paper. It said, Jon Bon Jovi, say the name 5 times fast, memorize it. And I was like, okay, I don't know who this guy is. But anyway, March of 84, I kept hearing Bon Jovi Runaway on the radio. And I was like, who sings the song? I love this song. And, back then we didn't have the prompt. You had to just wait for the DJ to say whatever. So finally, 2 weeks later, they were like, oh, it's this new from Bon Jovi, Jon Bon Jovi. And I was like, all right, let me record it, whatever. So I was like, it turned out to be that song. So that started off my like fanaticism. And then I didn't even know that like they lived 10 minutes up the road from me. So anyway, I went to see him. He played in a club like March 10th of 1984. And then I don't know, since he lived so close, you do these things when you're young, like driving around his house, trying to meet him. And then I finally did meet him like at the Dunkin' Donuts, like right there on the corner. I'm sure you guys all know where it is. And I wrote him a letter because he seemed like weird. Like he was like when he went to roll down the window, because my friend was basically throwing me out of the car and she was like, now or never, I'm not going to follow him everywhere. And I was just like, oh, I hope you just follow him. Maybe he'll stop somewhere and I can just get out if he's getting a coffee or whatever. She's like, no, I'm not following him. Get out of the light right now. So I said, okay. So I get out of the light and I knock on his window. He's in the car.
Turn on the TV, then I could see if I find something for us.
Sorry.
So he was
Or
on
are you
the.
gonna stay on your phone?
You
What's
guys
that?
mute. You guys
Okay.
need to mute
Go
if you're
ahead.
talking.
And
Sorry,
then
Bonnie.
close that.
So anyway, so I knock on the window and then he was like looking at me kind of like, yeah. So I was like, roll down your window, roll down the window. So, I was young, I was all excited. I didn't have any I didn't know what to do. So I just started talking to him and I was like, oh my God, I love your music and blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, when's the next album coming out? This is like in between the first album and 7800. So he was like, oh, we're going now. He was with Tico in the station wagon. And he was like, oh, we're going to now to Philly. And I'm like, okay, cool. When's it coming out? And he was like, anyway, it was back and forth like that. And he starts laughing at me because I was so excited. And I kept saying, but when's it coming out? But when's it coming out? So I was so excited. I went home and I thought about it. And like the only thing that really stuck in my mind was how like when I first approached him, he was like, yeah. So then I felt bad, so anyway, I wrote him a letter, sent it to his house in Sayreville, and his mom, Mrs. B, sees the letter, and she loved my letter, and she was like, I gotta call this girl up. She was like, she's local. I gotta talk to this girl. So I came home one day and my mom was like, oh, you got like a note over there from somebody that called. And I'm like, who's it from? And she's like, just go look at it. So I recognized the number. I found their number in the Dunkin' Donuts in the local phone book. I was like, yeah, that's where I found their number. I was like,
Note to
back
self,
then,
that Dunkin' Donuts is still there today. I know what you're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah,
Poor
I
Ray.
knew you guys would know.
Yep.
Anyway, so I ended up that she called me, and this is the conversation between me and my mom because it's like so funny. So I go, who called me? And she goes, go look at it. And I recognize the number. So I go, who is that, Mom? And she's like, who do you think it is? I go, who is it? She goes, who do you think it is? I go, Mom, just tell me, who is this? And she goes, it's who you think it is. And I just started screaming because it just said the number and it didn't say like a name. And it was Mrs. B that called me and I recognized the number. So anyway, I called her back and I was so nervous. And anyway, she was so super sweet. And I think John and Dorothea were like broken up at the time. So she says to me, oh, I love your personality. I loved your letter. She said, it would be really awesome if you were gorgeous. And then I was like, what? And she goes, oh, no, Johnny doesn't always go for gorgeous. And I was like, what? Are you trying to fix me up with Jon Bon Jovi? You freaking first time I ever talked to her. But after I came to know her, then I realized like that's just who she was. She just said what was ever on her mind. And anyway, long story short, she kept inviting me over to her house and I became friends with like there were two little, I was like maybe 22 and there were two little neighbor girls. They were like 12 and they had the biggest crush on John. He was like the hot guy in the neighborhood, Annie and Lisa. So she invited them over when she invited me over and they just wanted to meet me. I guess they thought I was nobody, but I guess they thought I was older. I was cool, whatever. They were dying to meet me. Anyway, we got this friendship going and eventually she was like, you know what? She's like, do you want to work at the fan club? And I was like, I can work at the fan club. Yeah. So it was like on again, off again. Like when they toured, like then she would hire me. I had another job, but when she
that's
toured,
really cool.
yeah. So, and it was just so much fun. And she was just, I don't know. She was just like you guys all know her every day. That's just how she was. And sometimes she would call fans up from the fan club and it was just like so much fun just to watch her. She's like, what's this? Wait till they find out who's on the phone, and she just enjoyed it so much. And
That's so true.
yeah, she just really was so proud of who he was and what she could do to like help him. And, it wasn't at the fan club. It wasn't like all about John, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it was just more about like her, like wanting to help and the fans, and yeah, she really, from the inside of the fan club, I could tell you that she really did love you guys. She really did. And
She did.
she loved all of us. And she never left. And I lost touch with her, unfortunately. I live in Florida now. She has a place down here in Florida. And this is the part I'm going to cry because my family and my friends were like, oh, you should reach out to her. And I was like, I don't know. I'm not really shy now, but I was really shy back then. And I was like, I lost touch with her. She's not going to want to hear from me anymore, And so I just was kind of like not really thinking of it as a priority to her. To me, I would have loved to talk to her, but I was thinking, she probably forgot about me. I don't know, whatever. So I never called her. She lives like 30 minutes up the road in her Florida place. And I wanted to, and I just never did. And now I regret it. But you guys know who Mark Weiss is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I used to work for him too. And I haven't talked to him in a while either, but his ex-wife just called me today. And the reason she called me was she said, I wanted to wish you, I haven't talked to her either in like 20, 25 years. And she called me today and she said, I just want to call you to wish you condolences on the passing of Mrs. Bon Jovi. I thought, like, why? Like what would make her, like, in my head, like what would make her think of that? She goes, as soon as I heard Mrs. Bon Jovi died, she said, you were the first person that I thought of. Because you guys were always so close. And I guess I just forgot how close we were. And that was kind of what made me stop from calling her and rekindling our friendship. And now I regret it. So that's my story.
No,
I
thank
miss her.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all gonna miss her. And
B
I
was
think
at their wedding, Mark Weiss, and I guess that wife, Mrs. B, was Mr. and Mrs. B were at that wedding because that's where they met Sebastian Bach. And
Right.
Mrs. B, Mrs. B told him, oh, John's friend is looking for a singer.
Yeah, I just read, not that I didn't know that story, but Mark just posted something about it today even.
Yeah.
So like I just reread that story today. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Cool.
yeah,
Thank
and Zach, not this is about Zach, but Zach used to play, in New Jersey too. And
Mhm.
I didn't know all that time, like how the whole connection with Sebastian. I mean, I know now, but like when I was living through it, I didn't
Yeah.
know that Mrs. B had found Sebastian. I had no idea. So
Mhm.
I read it somewhere, but like after all that time of like hanging with her, she never said a word about it, which was kind of cool. She didn't take credit for it. Like
No.
she wasn't walking around saying, "Oh, it's mine," which I thought was really cool. That I was like 5 days a week, I would see her like certain periods of the year, and I never knew that. So I just thought that was really cool that she never bragged about it or what I mean, tried to take
Yeah.
credit or anything. I thought that
Mhm.
was awesome. So, but you guys are right because so many people that we've met like over the years, and I'm still friends with every single one of them. And that's all we ever say is, "Oh man, those were the days. Those were the days. We wish that we could go back to them." And, like, especially the people that lived in New Jersey, like like we were like right there. We had it. We could just, whatever. I don't know.
I used to go on the fan club trips and I would drive the stuff right to Ford's. I didn't mail that. Right up to
You know
Ford's.
what? That's funny you would say that because I was in charge of like picking up the mail. Not
Just
me,
gonna
I'm
say
talking.
that's what she had people do early on because I
Yeah.
so remember that. And again, if Donna, I think Donna logged on, and I really hope Donna wants to talk. I don't know if she will or not, but
Yeah.
Donna also, when Backstage started the internet, Donna was her second person right there. I mean, every time on the internet and phone calls, and Donna would go there, and she really did rely on the fans to also teach her the internet and stuff. And that's
Yeah.
not the first story I've heard between
Yeah.
gathering the mail and she always grabs somebody and been like, help me.
The PO box memorized. Does anyone still know the address? Like PO box
326 4
326, yeah.
08863.
9229. Thank
I don't
you.
even know the address. I know how to get
I
there,
put
but
that
I
into
don't know the
Waze.
address.
How would I put a PO box into
326.
Waze? It was today.
326 Ford's, New Jersey.
326.
Yeah.
So here's another funny story. You guys just reminded me. It's a quick one.
Okay.
One day she called me and she said, and I couldn't hear her because I had been to like a concert at L'Amour's or something. And my ears were all blown out because I was standing right up. I think it was Vinnie Vincent Invasion or something like that. So she goes, so you know how like when your ears are blown out and all you can wow, wow, you know? So she called me and it was like right in the beginning and I was still like nervous because she was like Jon Bon Jovi's mother, and I said, "I'm really sorry. I'm having trouble hearing you. I'm sorry. I was at a show last night. If I keep asking you to repeat yourself." And she said, "You were at a show last night?" And I go, "Yeah." She goes just like this. She goes, "Where were you? Johnny didn't play last night." I was like, "Oops, maybe I shouldn't be going to see somebody outside John." I just thought that was the cutest thing that she's like, "Where were you? Johnny didn't play last night." So that was, yeah, she was a trip. She always just spoke her mind. Hi,
She did.
Zoe.
Thank you.
Hi,
Great
How are
story.
you, Zoe?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good.
Wanna make
I
sure-
know you got
Bonnie-
tons of stories.
I know Bonnie was one of the first people I ever met through the fan club, actually.
That's
And
true.
I know. So, well, I'm one of the people that Mrs. Bon Jovi called on the phone. And I remember the first time she called me, I was at home sick that day. And I answered the phone and I thought it was one of my mother's friends because her voice sounded exactly like one of my mother's friends. This is when I was living with my mother. And she said, and so thought she was going to say, "Is your mother there?" And then instead she said, "This is Mrs. Bon Jovi." And I was like, "Oh, hi." And she's like, "Oh, hi. Is that how you're going to talk to when I tell you that Mrs. Bon Jovi called?" I said, "Oh," I said, "I'm sorry." I go, "I thought that you were one of my mother's friends," And I was like so shocked because it was Mrs. Bon Jovi. That's why I was like, "Oh, I like that." So, and then when she called me, I told her that I only got the call from her because I was homesick. And so I told her, the next time you call me, like as if I thought she was going to call me a next time, I said, I should give you my work number. So I gave her my work number. And then sure enough, then one day I'm at work And all of a sudden, my coworker's like running down the hall. Mrs. Bon Jovi's on the phone. Mrs. Bon Jovi's on the phone. So that I'm like, so she called me at work too. So
that's awesome.
yeah, so those are a couple of my stories. I did find some pictures of the two of us. I don't know if anybody can see.
Yeah, let me.
There's a
Hold on.
picture. This was
Hold on,
like
just hold it up. Evan will get you.
Oh,
There you go.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, if
Oh,
any
I
of you
love
guys have photos.
That was, I think, from the Bounce fan club trip in August of 2003.
nice.
And then I have a much older picture. I don't know if anybody can see this one on the boat. And this was in August of 1993, the Keep the Faith fan club trip. And that's me and Mr. B and my friend Mary and me on the boat.
That's so cute.
Cool.
So, and I also have a picture of us at Elements, and this is with Scottish John. I don't know if anybody knows John Honeyman, Scottish
Yeah.
John. There
John lives
we
in
are.
Scotland.
Yeah.
Yes. So those are a couple that I was able to find quickly today. So,
When I
but
was go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I was going to say that I know you were talking about the auctions, but actually, I have a pair of John's pants that Mrs. Bon Jovi gave to me on the Florida fan club trip in 1993. And she just gave them to me because she said I was like the #1 fan club member. So she just gave me these pants. And when you watch the videos from the Rock in Rio in 1991, he's wearing those pants. So I know he actually wore them,
That's awesome.
and I owe them. So, yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah. So those are a couple of my stories. So
That's
And
awesome.
I can definitely speak to again a lot of the names and a lot of people, especially like me and Evan. Zoe, I met you through the fan club. Evan,
oh yeah.
We've all met through the fan club, and we've all known each other, 35 plus years. So
Right, exactly. So
Does
I
anyone else
just
have a story?
like sitting here listening to all you guys. I just feel extremely grateful for everything that she did for all of us. Like she
oh
really
yes.
she really did a lot for us, and she worked really hard at it, and she put a lot of thought into it, and some of it was just spontaneous like we mentioned, but she really did put a lot of hard work into it, and she really took care of us really, really well, and I appreciate
Me
I
too.
remember when the
Me
fan
too.
club came out.
Oh, go ahead.
I was about 12 maybe.
Wow.
And there was a picture of John sleeping, and Mrs. Bon Jovi had written, "Only a mother could get away with taking something like this." And I just thought that was the best thing ever, and I don't know why, but it just stuck with me all these years.
that's cute.
I thought it was very cute. Yeah.
she did get away with a lot with him. She always told us.
Right.
She went on one of the winter fan club trip for Bounce. I somehow wound up on the bus with her and Mr. B going from the hotel to the arena, and we were getting sound check, and she was telling the story. I remember she was telling the story on that bus of she was asking John, and he wouldn't tell her yes or no to the sound check. And then she said he told his father, "Tell mom okay." So yeah, she was always after him, and then he finally relent.
He probably just did it just to bust her, right? Probably. That's cute. That's a cute story. Well, anyway.
Anyone else have a story they want to share? Someone
I'll chime in, Evan.
Oh, yeah, let's get Patty. Hold on.
My
doing all
first
the spotlight.
experience.
Let me spotlight
Yeah.
you. Boom.
Yeah, thank you. My first experience with her was the 1993 fan club trip to Florida. I remember going to Newark Airport, and my parents took me. That woman pushed everybody out of the way because she wanted to meet my parents
Nice.
and ensure that their daughter was going to be safe on a fan club trip with a bunch of fans. And I don't know if you can zoom in on this, Evan.
Yeah.
When do we have
The
to go?
picture of me and me with
When
my
did we
parents.
have
I don't know if you can see it. It's on my phone.
Guys, please mute. Anybody talking in the background?
That was on the front page of the newsletter.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, and she made a big, and
I
then
remember that.
Mhm,
I remember that story too, Patty.
yeah,
mhm.
and then throughout it was like my first time seeing them in concert, believe it or not, because my mother wouldn't allow me to go. And she knew that it was my first concert, so she took a poster and had John sign it backstage and gave it to me in one of the storyteller nights that she had. And then we got talking throughout the trip about the fact that I live in a really tiny town and they never play anywhere near me. I told her about Montage Mountain, which is in near Wilkes-Barre, PA. She actually called me a week after the fan club trip, had me do my research and get her all the contact information. And then 2 weeks later, they announced the guys were playing there.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, she
That's
got it all arranged for me. And then that night at the concert, John kept calling me out, kept pointing to me, going, "You got me here. You better be happy I'm here."
that's awesome. Wait, can I
Of
ask you a
course.
question?
Yes.
I missed part of the story when you were saying she pushed everybody out of the way
Yeah.
to meet parents. What was the reason?
Because she saw that I was there, and she's like, "Is that your parents?" I heard her say, "Is that your parents?" I'm like, "Yeah, my parents brought me." "Oh, wait, everybody's got to move. I've got to meet her parents. I got to ensure that her parents, it's okay that, she's going to be safe on this trip." And here I'm already 24 years old.
That's so her. That's so
That
her.
was so
It
her.
was her.
Yeah.
I
my
was
Yeah.
God.
on those lines at 14
Yeah.
years old with my mother, and she
Yeah.
absolutely did the exact
Mhm.
and thanked my mother.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah.
there was the fan club trip, I think it was the end of 93 when they played Groton, Connecticut and fans got hurt. I was one of the fans that got sent to a hospital. I got hurt, pulled out of the concert. When we came back to the buses, she came on the bus to find me and had to ensure me that she called my mother to let my
Oh,
mother know I was okay.
that's
And
awesome.
throughout the whole night, she had Rhoda Miller checking in on me at the hotel the whole night long. I didn't get any sleep that night. That's the kind of person she was. She was amazing.
She really was. Like, she just made us all her family. She got a knack for that. She really did.
Yeah, she's like, "I didn't have daughters, but now I got thousands of daughters."
She did. She really
Yep.
did.
Yeah, Patty, I remember that trip too. That was like when Jackie's no longer here. I don't want to start crying, but
Yeah, I know.
Jackie was the one who got me into Bon Jovi. She
Mhm.
wore me down. She made me watch the Slippery When Wet videos over and over and over and would
Yep.
torture me. And then finally I got on the bandwagon. So she would say, "John is mine and you can claim Richie." So that's how it started. So like me and her would have our private jokes. She would be Bonbon Head #1. I would be Bonbon Head #2. So like
Yeah.
when we went on the fan club trips, like honestly, like Miss B would watch out for her. She would always ask, like, "Are you guys okay?" Because
Yeah.
of Jackie being in a wheelchair. And like the concern with that show in Connecticut was that it was GA, and she was so worried about like Jackie's safety that
Yeah.
day. She's like, "Please don't." She's like, "I know, Jackie, you want to go up front. I know you
Yeah.
want to be close to them, but like, no, I rather you stay
Yeah.
where you guys are at." But like she always said, like she was
Yeah.
always like joking around with like Jackie too on the fan club trip. She'd be like, "Okay, Jackie, how much of a pain in the ass are you gonna be on these trips and
Yeah.
stuff?" And she always was the best.
Yeah.
She would always come up to us and make sure that like me and her were okay and stuff. And like that, I will always treasure those memories
Well,
that I had with her on those.
that night in Groton, it was kind of funny because I'm sitting there in the tent with oxygen on my face because I couldn't breathe because somebody kicked me in my ribs. Mr. Bon Jovi started hurtling over chairs to get to me because Mrs. Bon Jovi told him he better go find me and make sure I was okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, I mean, she
Very
had
caring
a heart of
people.
gold. She really did.
I like your shirt. That's cute.
Thanks.
The Mrs. Bon Jovi shirt. That's
Oh,
adorable.
thank you. They actually sold this on the tour, so I thought it was fitting. I was looking for my Backstage shirt. I couldn't find it.
I couldn't find any of my shirts.
Yeah, I was looking for the one with the big star right here. That's a Backstage. I have it somewhere, but I can't find it. Good enough. Anybody else have any stories?
I didn't even think of it as like Mrs. Bon Jovi. I was thinking I was like Mrs. B. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Well,
I thought you
same
wore it.
association. So, but yeah, they
Yeah.
sold this one tour. You guys
Yeah,
probably remember.
the
I
frame
have
of
that
mind
too.
helps you
I have
interpret.
that too. Yeah.
I have like one more story too. Like I remember like a show at Red Bank. I don't remember if it was like for the leading man or what, but like my friend had made me like a jacket and had like a picture of the whole band on the back, and it was like custom made. And like I remember his mom looking at my jacket. She's like, "Oh my God, that is so cool. I love it." She's like, "I have to film it. I want it filmed so I could get it." And then I remember like I've moved so many times, and like I got so mad at my parents that they lost that jacket. To this day, I'm so angry that I can't find that jacket because like I had John's signature on the back of that jacket, and it got lost because like my parents are like gypsies. We moved around so many times. But like I said, she was
What was it like?
always
What was
so
it like?
nice.
What was it like? I'm curious now.
Oh my God, I can't even remember. It was like a picture of the whole band, and then like I just had like because like me being like more like because of Jackie claiming John, I couldn't have a John saying on the back of it. So like my friend wrote who dares wins for Richie and stuff, and it was just like a picture of the whole band. It was just decorated, and she's like, "Oh my God, I love it," and like that was like when I guess when they were still like doing like the fan club, like the videotapes that they used to do for the trips and everything.
That's awesome.
I remember that jacket, Jackie.
Do you?
Yeah.
See, and I'm so mad that like all these years I still remember the jacket, and it's like, and my parents are like, "We didn't throw it." My dad's like, "I never threw it out," because like my father would would get mad at me like with me hanging up like any of my Bon Jovi stuff back in the day in the room. He's like, "I'm gonna just take it down." And he's like, "I never threw out that jacket." I'm like thinking,
And I think it was the Count Basie show, like the night before when they showed the leading man. I think that was
yes, I think it was that. Yeah,
It was. I
that.
posted a picture of it on the website. They did. And we were going to see the movie, and she came out with John and Richie, of course, with her surprises, because none of us knew that John and Richie were going to show, and they showed up beforehand and did a Q&A for all of us. And
yeah, because I remember her
reflect.
saying like when me and Jackie got in, she's like, look, like she pointed to the side. She's like, look at the side,
Mhm.
at the side to let us know that like that they were there.
Mhm. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
awesome.
because I
That was
remember
again one of our little perks.
yeah, because she told me make sure you come down front. That's all she said to me, and I didn't know why she wanted me down front. Now I know why.
Again, and we got that for free just because we
Yeah.
had, Christmas tickets, and we had stood
Mhm.
outside for Christmas tickets. So if you had a Christmas ticket, they let you in the day before to go see the leading man.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a story? Or guys can always chat me if you're like, I want to go next. Like you can always chat to me, but
Yeah, let us
I
know.
have one, Evan.
oh yeah, okay, let me find you. Who is
I'm
it?
Kelly.
Oh no.
I have a couple of them. Not as good as a lot of yours. But do you remember the auctions? You know, they always did the auctions, and she was selling the tickets that you could, write your name on it and put in whatever item that you wanted. And I was a single mom, so I didn't have a lot of money to be on a fan club trip. Cost me a lot of money being a single mom. So I bought one ticket to buy one auction item. And she looked at me. She goes, "Just one ticket?" I said, "It only takes one." And she goes, "Well, that's true." And lo and behold, I won an auction item that night. I think she had something to do with that. So I think she picked my name out on purpose. I hate to be like, not fair to other people, but I think because I told her I'm a single mom. And also on that trip, I had shown her a picture of my son. And she liked her alcoholic drinks, her vodka. And she took my picture out of my hand. She looked at it, looked at me, and kept looking at my son. She goes, "Are you sure that's not my grandson?" And I started laughing. I said, "Oh, don't I win?" It was just, she was just so funny and so personable. I always admire her and the class. She was a class act. That's how I view her.
Yeah.
Very classy lady.
On that, I have something.
Oh, let me bring you on, Linda.
Hi. It was one of the fan club trips. I don't remember which one it was. We were at the Embassy Suites, and as usual, we were all up partying all night. And the next morning, we came downstairs and we were all in the lobby. And I don't remember if it was the last morning or what it was. Mrs. B had her T-shirt on, inside out. Very quietly, I went over and whispered to her not to embarrass her and told her her T-shirt was inside out, that the tag was on it. She announced to the whole lobby, hysterical laughing, Linda just told me my T-shirt is inside out. Look at this, I'm half asleep. It was funny. But classy? Sometimes.
Oh, wait. Reminds me of a funny story about clothes. I don't know how to switch this around. Can you switch me around?
Switch around, yeah.
Thank you. How do I switch this around anyway? How do I do it?
I'm hosting it up, so I like to feature who's speaking, and I'll bring you in. And,
okay.
Yeah.
Did you find me?
Yeah, you're there. You're
there. You're there.
I can't tell. It looks the same to me. Okay, so anyway, so I don't know if you guys had this store called Bradley's anywhere. I don't know where you guys are all from, but right down the road from me, there was this store called Bradley's. And it was very similar to like Kmart and whatever. So one day when I was working at the fan club, she comes in with all these like gray flannel, like sweatpants and a sweatshirt. And she bought one for all of us, me, Polly, Mary, Rhoda. And it was just funny because even though, you know, she was in the position she was in, she loved a good bargain. So she brought these, she was like, oh my God, these are so great. I love this. I bought one for all of you guys. And we were like, okay, cool. Where did you get this from? She goes, did you ever hear of Bradley's? And I said, oh my God. I said, I shop at Bradley's all the time. She's like, and you didn't tell me about this store? And I just remember thinking, why would you shop at Bradley's? You have, you know, like you have more like financial situation that you don't, it's like a bargain Kmart kind of store. But she was so excited about that store. And she was like, I can't believe you didn't tell me you shop there all the time. You never told me.
And she was at Bradley's in East Brunswick.
I don't know if you went to that one or the one.
That was the only one. Yeah, there was the only one in East Brunswick or in Hazlitt or Homedale.
Yeah, Hazlitt.
The one down there.
Right on 36, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah, because I used to be able to take the back roads from my house. I lived in Cliffwood Beach. So I could take the back roads and just come out on, I didn't even have to like go on the highway to get to the street. So
yep.
I never thought to ask her which one she went to, but yeah, I didn't even know there was more than one actually.
Those were the only two in the area, so.
Yep. So that was a funny story about Mrs. Bon Jovi and her bargain hunting.
I more have email stories with her because on my list she would always be like, break a leg, Evan, you're going to do great. She also, when I told her I was moving to Los Angeles, she was like, watch out, Evan, they're plastic there, so be careful. And I feel like that was echoing what John said about LA, like Malibu was not his scene. I will, so I'm gonna now share this is a story where I accidentally pissed off Mrs. B, so this is my bad. So here, let me yeah, so for getting ready for the Embassy Suites East Rutherford trips, I was just out of college trying to be cool and everything, and I'm like, I heard of this thing called a power hour where I guess they would take like a shot of beer every minute for an hour. So I thought, you know what, why not? I will come up with a Bon Jovi power hour. I will make a playlist for the fan club trip with 60 Bon Jovi songs, 1 minute each. And then every time the song changes, people will do a shot of beer. That sounds fun. Sounds like awesome, like Animal House. And
yeah, fun.
I chose to message Mrs. B about this. And I'm like, Mrs. B, I had this great idea for the fan club trip. And then right away, we remembered the message board back then, where she would put on the message board, I have heard that someone is planning to do the power hour. The fan club trip will not support this. This is a destructive action, and we do not encourage such behavior. So I made sure to keep my streak alive of whenever running into a member of the band or its affiliates of making an ass of myself. So that was me. That was
that's what I was always afraid of. That's why I was so like I don't want to, like, after a while I was good, but in the beginning, that's like when I couldn't hear her. I was like, I don't want to make an idiot out of myself. And I like was trying so hard to hear what she was saying, but I was like, my ear.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was afraid to do that too. I understand your pain there.
No, I mean, I feel like she treats all of us like we're all part of her family or like we're all on the same TV show. And it's like we're all like kind of cast members on her show. Like she always just brought us in. Like she knew us like, oh, I remember you from like episode 10 and 13. Like it's like yeah, no time had passed. Like
That's
you're the
awesome.
recurring character in her life. But she owned it. I like how she owned it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did.
Good
Anyone
way
way
else
to-
want to?
I have a few things.
Yeah, let me get Janet. Go, come on. Yeah, come on down. Let's. Price is right. There we go.
Oh, and I think my cat Persimmon is going to put himself in here too. He never met Mrs. B, but he would have liked her. So I joined the fan club in '96 after I graduated from vet tech school. It was my graduation gift to myself. My first fan club trip was in 2000. And my husband and I went down to have breakfast. And it's like, oh, telling him everything that I've read online about these things. It's like, oh, and I hear Mrs. B comes to these and, just going on about everything. When Mrs. B walks in, sits at the table in front of us. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know that I'm going to be able to eat. Sam, and I'm overlooking him. Sam, that's Mrs. Bon Jovi. Oh my God, that's Mrs. Bon Jovi. And got myself together and went over and introduced myself to her, and just the sweetest lady. It's like, Mrs. B, I have something I want to share with you, but I really would appreciate if you just, if you don't tell anyone else about this. I had just found out that that I was going to be one of the people on VH1 Fan Club, and I waited to do it until I saw that it was with the fan club's okay, and I just wanted to tell her that I was one of them. And, I was so grateful. Thanked her for absolutely everything on the trip. Fast forward to the next trip, wanted to show her my Bon Jovi tattoo. She had come over. Sam and I were sitting down and having lunch, and she just pulled up a chair at our table. And she's like, no, you two go ahead and eat. I'm not eating yet, but, don't stop on my account. She must have talked to us for an hour, just, everything, everyday things. And I showed her my tattoo, and it's like, and one day the goal is to have John sign this. And she's like, you know what, you go for it. Someday it will happen, which now it has. And going back to the thing about the auctions, I remember there was a certain suit that was red, white, and blue. It was, I want to say it was a Versace. No, I'm sorry, it was a Tommy Hilfiger. And it was blue with red and white flames down the sides of the arms and the legs. And a bidding war started. Okay, I may or may not have been one of the two people that was in this bidding war. And I remember Mrs. B stopping everything and saying, people, come on. I realize that you love this band, but come on, rent still comes due. Some of you have mortgages.
I remember this.
Yeah, I do
going on
too.
during the
I
auction.
remember
I
that
think I
too.
remember that
I
too.
remember that too.
Yeah, I remember.
I have the suit. The other person finally said fine. At that point, I was never going to wear it. That changed very quickly. I wear it to every home show now. I don't wear it when I travel. And John recognizes it and points out, hey, that's my jacket, or things like that. And that's actually how he came down to when I had a paper plate that said, hey, John, sign my tattoo. What tattoo? I'll sign your jacket. No, tattoo. And so Mrs. B was just very pivotal in that too. She was the one that presented the jacket and pants to me, and it was just such a huge thing. I remember one of the shows at Giants, there were a bunch of people that had accidentally gotten scalped tickets, and security was trying to get them out of there. And Mrs. B came over and she's like, these people, they look just like all of us. They look like they should be here. This was not their fault. And she had them getting folding chairs and putting in extra rows for them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just what a real person, what an empathetic person.
that same trip, she found that someone was trying to sell their lanyard, and she could get pissed off. And I did not know that that is what happened yet. And I went up to her after the show and I'm like, Mrs. B, just thank you. Just thank you so much. She turns around. She's like, you know what? Just stop thanking me right now. Not
I could hear her saying that for sure.
exactly. Which at first I'm like, well, I'm not quite sure what I did wrong. But then I heard all these other things and it's like, oh, I get it. I remember her at the breakfast. Hey, you guys are paying for all this. Take a banana to your room. You don't want to be passing out at the show.
That's awesome.
And then the final one was one show or one tour. We were just checking into the hotel, and she comes up to me and she's like, Janet, there's a sound check tonight. Why wasn't your name on that list? I didn't know what time our plane was coming in. I didn't want to take, as much as I wanted to be there, I didn't want to take it away in case I couldn't be. No, you wait a minute. She came up to me like 5 minutes later and she's like, I made a call. I called Johnny. We're getting in the people who just got here. You're going to sound check. And that turned out to be the Triumph the Insult comic dog night.
That was a legendary sound check.
Yes.
Yeah, I was there too.
Evan, I remember your power hour. I think we did a couple shots together that night.
I didn't even drink beer. That was the thing. Like I just wanted it to be festive, but I shouldn't. I publicize things too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the washer fluid, the blue raspberry vodka on that tour, which became known as the washer fluid.
Yeah. I don't think she wanted us drunk everywhere, Evan.
I know. I just, it was a good game show. I thought
it was.
But yeah, I was just done. If I could do it over again, I'd be like, okay, just sip something. I don't even care if it's orange juice. We just got to get the 60 songs in. But I had to like remind people as the power hour was going on, like, guys, the songs just changed, but no one cares. Like, what do you
no
unrealistic goal you have, little boy. So yeah.
That's funny.
I just remembered a story. Everybody telling a story reminds me of another story. So I came to Hollywood, Florida. I had family that lived down here when I still lived in Jersey. So every time Bon Jovi would play down here, then I would come visit my family and blah, blah, blah. So one time when Mrs. B knew I was coming here, she got me a backstage pass. And, you know, like I keep saying, I was so shy back then. So I was back there and I didn't know what I was going to say. I was like nervous, whatever. And Jon was talking to somebody else. And he had his like glasses on. And I could like see him like looking over his glasses at me. Like he was talking to that guy in front of him, but he kept like looking over at me, like over his glasses. And finally he just like kind of just like excused himself from the guy. And he looks at me and he goes, you must be Bonnie. And I was like, what? And it's because Mrs. B told him ahead of time, like to look for me. And I was like, not even expecting that. But then I felt better because, you know, then I didn't feel like, I don't know what I was, you know, when you're shy, you always like you're bothering everybody, you know. But soon as I was still nervous, but at least I felt like more welcome. And I was just like, oh my God, like she literally was so sweet and told him I was coming to look for me. And I was just like, that was just like such a cool thing for her to do. I wasn't expecting that, you know. So it was nice. It was nice.
Tanya on thanks, Bonnie. Tanya on chat has a story.
Oh, good.
I'm here, but I can't put my camera on.
Well,
but I got a good story.
At least feature
the 2003 fan club trip. Can you hear me? Everyone can hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay. February. I went with my mom, but we weren't on the trip, but we knew where it was because Linda and Felicia, I think I found out from them. So I went there, checked it out. We were hanging out. I was like, oh crap, there's Mrs. Bon Jovi. I tell my mom, that's Jon Bon Jovi's mom. And she's like, oh, my mom starts walking over there. I'm like, oh crap. If you know my mom, she has no filter. So she walks over and Mrs. Bon Jovi looks at her face to face and she's like, oh, I'm like, Mrs. Bon Jovi, this is my mom. And she looks at my mom's like, oh, you like Bon Jovi too? My mom's like, oh no, I can't stand Bon Jovi. I love Elvis. And so Mrs. Bon Jovi says, I love Elvis too. I do too. And they start going back and forth about Elvis and concerts and the one they missed and whatever. And I'm staring at both of them like, she's talking to Jon Bon Jovi's mom about Elvis just said she hates Bon Jovi, and I'm standing here, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Excuse my language. I'm trying to curse. I shouldn't have cursed. I'm sorry. And they kept talking to each other. And then anyway, so that whole ended and I was frozen. And then literally told my mom 2-3 days ago, because my mom's memory hasn't been so good. My mom remembered it to a T. She's 86 years old herself. Remembered every little thing. She's like, I remember that. I remember the Elvis we talked. I didn't even tell my mom. She's like, I remember the Elvis. I remember she liked it more than her son. I'm like, no, she didn't like it more than her son. You're the one that said that. So that was that. So she completely remembered it and how charming and nice she was.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I can let's share. There's one thing I wanted to share. Let me just see if I can find it. It's something Michelle and I were watching this at the same time on YouTube because we probably go to the same places on the board. Let me see if I can find it. Not this, but this other window. I want to do a minute of this. Let me just make sure the sound can be shared.
I was just watching that last night.
Yeah.
It's appropriate. It's very appropriate.
Right to the part.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Let's go right to the part. Let's see how this.
That was such a great
party. It'll be like a minute.
Yes.
So let's roll this out.
I thank every one of them for what they did. And tonight is my mom's retirement party because she spent 10 years devoted to this fan club, and she cared about every single one of you every single night that she did it. And I want to thank my mom for having me. I want to thank my mom for dragging that acoustic guitar home that I threw down the basement stairs, because without her I'd probably be pumping gas somewhere right now. And she is the sole driving force behind not only this, but everything that's made me good, better, and different what I am today. So I hope that you guys appreciate her even half as much as I do. And sometimes, you don't say it enough, but wherever my mom is, I love you, Mom. You really have done a fine job. So I'm gonna just do one more because I want to go to the bar, and I'm gonna.
So that was his ode to Mama.
Awesome. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Very fitting. Very fitting.
Should
Those of us who also were at that event was just, again, another event that was just unbelievable. Got there, had no clue he was going to walk the room, and we got bags, we got food. It was at an amazing place in Eatontown. It was like catering hall, golf place or whatever. But again, country club. That's where it was, a country. And again, we had no clue that we were getting anything when we walked in, other than like dinner and celebrating a fan club and a show. And he walked the room and met everybody personally. And
yeah, that was the best part, when he
unbelievable,
went from table to table and took pictures with everybody.
And there was like there was 15 tables of like 10 people each, because I remember that I was at one of the last tables.
I totally remember that. But you remind, every time someone says something, reminds me of something else. I have a food story. So when I was first liking Bon Jovi, because I was 84, and I love to bake, so I would always bake brownies. And every time I would go visit Mrs. Bon Jovi, I would always bring brownies. And Mrs. B would always say, Johnny loves the brownies with nuts. Make sure you make them with nuts. I said, okay. Always made them with nuts. And then years later, when I worked at the fan club, he goes, he didn't like nuts. He hates them. I like nuts.
He wanted them.
He wanted them. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. He's like, no, he doesn't like nuts in his brownies. She goes, I wanted
funny. Okay, I think we're gonna give it back over to Evan.
Okay.
Thanks, Bonnie.
You're